It's Godhead Brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, Alisaie. Back to talking about back for another episode of $50 upgrades, the show where I take a precon and give you my suggested $50 upgrades for the deck. And today, we're finishing out Final Fantasy Precon Week with Y'shtola, Knights Blessed, heading up the Scions and Spellcraft precon from Final Fantasy. A 4-mana Esper 2/4 Cat Warlock with Vigilance says at the beginning of each end step, if a player lost 4 more life this turn, we draw a card. And whenever we cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, it deals 2 damage to each opponent, and we gain 2 life. Y'shtola is a really interesting commander, and I think it's going to be very popular for a lot of reasons, mainly because anytime a commander has an ability that applies to a wide range of things, there's going to be a lot of sub-focuses you can make it to, and I think a lot of people are going to choose different ways to go. For this upgrade and for the main, my regular brew fort that's up on the channel now, I decided to spin Y'shtola just a little bit more towards the life gain, life loss, trying to pay those off with all the different ways we have to do that, and just to make each of these triggers a little bit more profitable for us. I want to say a quick thank you to our channel members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in checking out all of our videos just a little bit early for just $1 a month, consider checking that out down below. As far as the ads go, I wanted to try to round out our removal a little bit because I think for a precon, I expected a little bit of removal, and I feel like it just needed it. Trying to add things like Anguished Unmaking and Baleful Mastery for some new removal. Anguished Unmaking can hit almost anything. You just lose 3 life for it, and since it's 3 mana, means that it should only be 1 life if you think about it with Y'shtola's trigger. Baleful Mastery is pretty cool because you can play 1 in a black instead if you do an opponent draws a card, but it's still considered to be a 4-mana spell, so we're still getting a Y'shtola trigger even though we're taking out a creature. Bloodchief Ascension is a really interesting enchantment, and I think once we get it online, it's going to be really helpful for us. Beginning of each end step, an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you can put a counter on it. Note that it's each turn, so we can manage to trigger Y'shtola in multiple turns, right? We're going to end up getting the counters on this a little bit faster. Or maybe our opponents will attack each other and help us out. But whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if it has 3 or more counters on it, we can have that player lose 2 life. If we do, we gain 2 life. So there's a lot of ways that a card can hit a graveyard from anywhere. And so Bloodchief Ascension, once it's online, is going to really help us out get more of these life gain and life loss triggers and hurry our opponent. It may not trigger Y'shtola, but I think that's perfectly fine. We're going to have plenty of other ways in the deck to do that. Caduceus is a really interesting card. It gives the equipped creature lifelink, and then as long as we have 30 or more life, we get to give the equipped creature +5/+5 indestructible and prevent all damage dealt to it. This can either be really great for Y'shtola, giving it some protection, or for another creature. Remember that if Y'shtola has lifelink, it's dealing 2 damage to each opponent, meaning we're going to end up gaining 2 life for each opponent we hit, right? So we're going to end up being up 8 life total in the process, just allowing us to net some of that life back and keeping ourselves at a healthy life total. Same thing with Curiosity. Whenever the enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, we may draw a card. Well, we're going to get 3 triggers of that per Y'shtola trigger, since it deals 2 damage to each opponent, meaning we have a chance, right, to draw and refill our hand. Enduring Tenacity is one of the couple cards we've added to care about this life gain, life loss thing. Whenever we gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So here we go. Every trigger, that's 1 more cycle of 2 damage. Remember, that's what Y'shtola needs to draw us a card on end step, is somebody to have lost 4 life, right? So there we go. There's a way to trigger her first ability. Or if Y'shtola has lifelink, now we're getting 4 Tenacity triggers, right? Or these triggers, 1 for each opponent, losing life, and the 1 for the 2 life we gain right off of just her own ability, meaning now we're really passing out damage every time our ability goes off. Frantic Search for some draw and some discard and untapping some lands. Again, it's 3 mana, so it's going to trigger Y'shtola. Same thing with Generous Gifts, some more removal that should also trigger Y'shtola, and again, can hit almost anything to really be helpful depending on what our opponents need and have. We're playing into the Infect just a little bit. Grafted Exoskeleton can give a creature +2/+2 an Infect. Remember that a creature with Infect deals damage to players in the form of poison counters, and once an opponent has 10 poison counters, they lose the game. Meaning that if we can give Y'shtola Infect, we need less triggers to really take over and hurt a game. And there's multiple ways in our colors to do this. Exoskeleton's just one of the cheaper ways to do it. Irenicus' Val Duplication can make a copy of Y'shtola, meaning we can get multiple triggers every time. And again, more damage means the less damage we have to do in combat or other ways, so that's great for us. Marauding Blight-Priest, wherever we gain life, each opponent loses a life. Again, here's a way to just start hopefully getting us multiples of these triggers so we can be hurting our opponents piece by piece. Ringsight says the ring tempts you, and then we can search our library for a card that shares a color with a legendary creature we control and put it into our hand. Normally with the Ringsight, the ring, when it tempts you and you pick a ring bearer, makes a creature legendary. Otherwise, with our commander out, just means we can get any card in any of the 3 colors in our commander's color identity and go put it into our hand. This is great because it is a 3-mana spell, so it's going to trigger Y'shtola, and then it goes and gets us the right thing we need at the right time to then continue to make our game plan better. Sanguine Bond, another thing, whenever we gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Again, same thing as Enduring Tenacity. Same exact application here. It's just a straight-up enchantment. Sea Double's a card I'm trying out. I think I like the idea of it. You can either copy a spell, or you can create a token that's a copy of target creature. A couple things to note about Sea Double. Neither of them require the thing that you're copying to be yours, which is kind of interesting. You could copy somebody else's if you want to. But, I mean, also remember that copying a spell doesn't actually cast it, so you're not going to get another Y'shtola trigger. But, I mean, copying the right spell at the right time could be pretty huge. Note it says target spell. It does not say non-creature spell. It does not say whatever. So Sea Double can copy literally anything, which is very interesting when you think about it, and might help us get double the copies of maybe a key thing in our deck at the right time. Sigil of Sleep is just a cheap 1-mana aura that says whenever the enchanted creature deals damage to a player, we get to return a creature that player controls back to its hand. So this is nice. Every time we're having Y'shtola's ability go off, we're returning one creature of each of our our opponents back to their hands to help kind of control the board a little bit. And it's our choice. I mean, it does target, but it is our choice, meaning that we can bounce the right thing at the right time. Spark Double can come in and make a copy of Y'shtola, again, for more triggers. The fun part is it does make it non-legendary, so if we wanted to continue to copy Y'shtola more, we could, and Spark Double does let us help do that. Starscape Cleric says whenever we gain life, each opponent loses a life, and we can offspring it to get a second copy, basically making it so that whenever we lose a life, each opponent's losing, or whenever we gain a life, each opponent is losing 2 life. Again, just trying to get these abilities in here to help get more damage off in the process. Steal the Godhead gives the enchanted creature lifelink and unblockable. Again, pretty great for Y'shtola, so that way we can give it lifelink and gain life whenever it deals damage. And then this is a 3-mana spell, so it's going to trigger her as well. But all right, if we're going to add cards, we got to remove cards. And I just want to say really quick that just because I'm removing cards in this upgrade does not mean they're bad, doesn't mean they're not worth playing, doesn't mean they shouldn't be in your deck. It's just these are the cards I chose to take out to put in the cards I wanted to add. Now, when I say that, I am going to mention some of these cards as cards that I really, really like. And if that's the case and you're following along with my guide, you can maybe find something else to bring in instead. My hope is that my adds inspire you more than the removes, just so that you can decide what you want to do with your deck. And if you end up lining up on the removes, that's great. But if you want to remove other cards, I'd love to know down in the comment section below. I really like Baleful Strix. It's just a very interesting card coming in and drawing a card, and it's a decent threat to have around. But truthfully, it doesn't really fulfill anything that Y'shtola wants to do. I think this partner pair is very interesting. It's just not something I'm really wanting to look into. I think I care more about the life game, but this could be a cool thing to either have as your commander because they have partner, or look into building around more if you want to. Her Svelgar is a dragon I really love the idea of. It's not for this deck, and I think there's some other cool dragon decks that are going to be able to take advantage of this card, but it's just not for us, and that's completely okay. I like that Precons can bring new cards even if they're not for the deck that they are in. I like the idea of things like Into the Story and Dig Through Time, but these spells are just really expensive, and I kind of wonder how much they actually do for us. I'd really thought about leaving in Rite of Replication since we brought in Spark Double and ways to make non-legendary copies of Y'shtola, but I inevitably chose to take it out just to try to, again, get more consistency in our deck. Tataru Taru's interesting. Again, I like some of these new cards. They're trying new things. They're trying to not only bring new cards for this deck, but for other decks as well. And I think that's something that's really useful for us as a format. Trencher Peelhark's an example of a card that I think is just getting reprinted for everybody else. I don't really see why it's in the deck, although we get to recast a creature, a spell from our graveyard when it comes in. 6 mana just feels like a lot, and Gearhulk itself doesn't even trigger Y'shtola, so it's something I was pretty willing to kind of let go. But all right, we added the $50. What will we add next, right? I think this is a fair question because it's easy just to cap ourselves at $50 to keep us in bracket 2, but what if we want to go up to bracket 3? What if we want to add a little bit more? What do we do? Well, my first thought is something like Teferi Time Reveler. It's a 3-mana planeswalker that's going to trigger Y'shtola that prevents our opponents from casting spells other than at sorcery speed. This is a huge downside to our opponents. You don't think you realize how much sorcery speed matters. Means they basically cannot cast instants at anything other than sorcery speed, which will even hurt them because then they can't even cast instants on their own turn at instant speed. It just has to be sorcery speed. So Teferi can really help shut down our opponents. I love the idea of something like Torment of Hailfire as a big spell to end on, put your opponents through that ringer of making that choice and losing life. And of course, even Hailfire for 1 is going to trigger Y'shtola. I don't think you'd ever do that, but it does give you that option. We can look into more free spells like Deadly Rollick. We get to cast it for free as long as we control our commander. It's 4 mana, so it's going to trigger Y'shtola, and it's going to get rid of a key creature. This sits alongside spells like Fierce Guardianship that allow us to cast them for free with our commander out that are all going to trigger Y'shtola for a trigger on an opponent's turn. You see the Fierce Guardianship there. We can play the other half of our life gain combo in Exquisite Blood. Whenever our opponent loses life, we gain that much life. Again, the really nice thing about Exquisite Blood is even if we don't have Sanguine Bond or Enduring Tenacity to complete the one half of that combo, basically making it so that you're going to be able to drain all your opponents out. Exquisite Blood still ends up netting us 6 life with every Y'shtola trigger because our opponents are losing 2 life, so we're gaining that much life, right? Like, you can still see that Exquisite Blood has some great value, even if it's not completely, right, valuing up next to Exquisite or Sanguine Bond or Enduring Tenacity. And then Pheresis, again, just another way to give Y'shtola Infect. I didn't want to go too hard on this, even though I think it's a great way to make her stronger, and we can play every Infect route we can. But truthfully, it's another way that you can make the deck a lot better and a lot stronger. And then, right, if she has Infect, you only need 5 Y'shtola triggers to win the game. So it definitely can really put a clock on your opponents to either get rid of her or really find a way to deal with Infect. But I'd love to know, what do you think of my potential ads for this Precon? Are you thinking of adding any of these cards? What are your thoughts on my ads or removes? I'd love to talk with you in the comment section below. The list of all the ads and the removes is in the description as well if you just care about that. And I will catch you on the next one.